really like. It just can be really complicated and daunting. And we've done it a few times, but it is also one of those things that practice makes perfect. First thing is you need a few pieces of equipment. So you need a heat tool. This is Stampin' Up's, and it also comes in two settings. If you look really close, you can see there's a 0 is off, and a 1 and a 2. 1 is for lighter weight papers, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. Tonight, we're going to use 2, which is the highest setting. So there's that. You also are going to need Versamark ink, which is really crazy because it looks kind of clear. Well, mine has sort of a greenish tint to it. Don't pay any attention to it. That might be my old one. I think I have one that isn't green. Where is it? It's right here. Let's try that better. Yeah, same kind of tint. It's clear. So when you look at it, what you're seeing is actually the ink pad. Versamark. And then you're going to want the embossing powder. And tonight we are going to use the silver. I really like white and clear too, but you can't see it when I use those. So I'm going to use silver tonight so that you can be sure to see it. So Versamark, embossing powder. This is the embossing buddy, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with that. And then this is not a Stampin' Up! Tool. This is a tiny, tiny little paintbrush, and you're going to see why I like this too when we get to that part. The next thing you're going to need is a piece of scrap paper. Some people like to use coffee filters. I just use regular copy paper from my printer. All right, so now let's talk about our card. I decided to do a little bit different than we usually do, but this is still my same base card that I love all the time. It's the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when it's folded. It starts out at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. Score down the middle. We're going to actually go with a horizontal card. And then we have a layer of cardstock. And the colors and all the links are in the classroom already. And then this is from the Magnolia Blossom Designer Series paper. But if you notice, the measurements give you a little bit thinner edge. And I just thought we'd give that a shot this time. So instead of this being 4 by 5 1/4, and again, the measurements you have a download in the classroom. And the classroom is working tonight, so don't worry. If for some reason this is not working for you, it's working for almost everybody, but there's a couple people that it's still giving you fits for. If that's working, just go to karamiller.com, click on Classroom, and you're good to go. I will post the other link after if this isn't working for you and you need to get into the classes. Because the classroom is still there. It's just under that Teachable site, which if you don't remember that, no worries. I'll post it for you right after this. Okay, so instead of being 4 by 5 1/4, this is now 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I know, you know how much I love math. So that goes like that. Then this is 4 by 5 1/4, and that goes there. And then you're going to use a piece of Whisper White, which is the 3 3/4 by 5. Right? Crazy measurements. But our card's going to go like this. Okay, so this can all get put together because this I'm just going to hold off on. So I need my snail. Whoops. And pop this on. And then this goes on. Oh, good, Sandy. Good, good. And this goes on like so. And then we're ready for this to go here. All right, so you don't really see a lot of it, but enough. First things first, before you do anything, you're going to take your embossing buddy and you're going to just rub this over your cardstock. And what that does is just kind of like white powder in here. And what that does is tells the paper not to have any static. It kind of gets rid of any static cling that might be there. No, it doesn't work if you rub it on your nylon so that your dress doesn't stick. It doesn't work. Not that anyone's tried that. All right, the stamp set that we're going to use is the two-part stamp set that is Good Morning Magnolia. This is an amazing flower. And then it's got really great sentiments in this one. It's so big that they didn't have room for anything else except the flower. It takes up the whole thing. There is actually a bundle, but I'm not using the die cuts today. But as you can see, the flower's huge. Okay, so here's my flower and leaves. It's really big, but if you look, it doesn't quite fit, but that's okay because I want it to kind of be off the paper like so. But I also want to make sure that I have room for the sentiment, which is thanks. So I'm going to position that here before I get my flower, make sure that I have room for thanks, all right? And then we're going to pick up this. You could also do this with your Stamparatus if you wanted. So put this back down. Make sure thanks is the right way, because I'm going to do both of these at the same time. I just need to make sure that it's where I want it. And it's not, so get thanks in there. Now, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I kind of like this idea. So that's how I'm doing it like that. And then I'm going to pick, that's why I'm using this giant block. This, I never know its number. This is the F block. Okay, so now I have my embossing buddy has wiped this down. All right. Now I don't need you. I need you, my Versamark ink. And I'm going to flip this over and I'm just going to get this. Now this is kind of a sticky ink. Remember, it's clear, so it's a little trickier to see that it's working, but you'll feel that it feels sticky. And what embossing is basically is it gives something to hold the powder. I'm going to show you the powder in a minute. And so you want to make sure that you have enough Versamark on there, and it's a slow drying process. It doesn't dry as quick as other inks do. So I'm just going to come over here, position this back where I had it. Yeah, a little bit's off the edge, but I kind of like that. Make sure that you have a good, solid pressure. And then I'm going to show you, you can kind of see it. See that? You can kind of see the ink on there. All right. And then be careful if you have your fan blowing in your room. This could get really bad. Do not be stingy with this, with the powder. Be very generous. You are not going to waste it. We're going to pour it back in. So just sprinkle away, cover the whole card. Don't worry if you use it all, because you're not really going to use it all. All right? Then you're going to kind of take this and make sure that the powder goes all over where your Versamark was. See it? And then, I'm going to zoom in. And then it's time to flick, because see how those little dots? I don't want those. So I'm just going to flick the back till I get all the excess off. Then I'm going to clean up my mess, and then we're going to come back and do a little touch-up. So to clean up your mess, you just very carefully pour this back in the jar. This is the point some people use a coffee filter. I'm happy with the paper. I feel like I get good control with it. Now you'll notice that my fan hit me that I told you not to have. You may not notice it. There's a little bit here, so I'm just going to get rid of all this because I do not want silver heat emboss on here. Okay. Now I'm going to bring this back in, and I want you to still look and see where there's a little bit right here that looks like my fingerprint probably. That's where this handy dandy little brush comes in, and I'm just going to brush that away. And I'm going to look around and see if there's any place where there's a little bit of powder. Because if there's any powder where it doesn't belong, it's going to get embossed. What's going to happen is the heat is going to come in, and it's going to melt that powder, and it's going to make it shiny and bumped up, so it feels so elegant. A couple of things. I'm going to turn this baby on and let it warm up, because I want to be sure that it's good and warm. So you can just put your hand in front and make sure it's hot. Yep, it is. And then you're going to take this and you're going to go in little circles. And then I see one more place. You're going to go in little circles until it starts to warm up. If you're using a small piece, you might need to bring in your tweezers so that you don't burn your hand, because it is pretty hot. You want to move it. You don't want to hold it in one spot. And you will see it start to turn. There it goes. Can you see it? And there, we're going over here. You don't want to leave it too long. Right? Isn't it the coolest thing? Now, if for some reason your paper starts to curl, because it's getting warmed up and it's kind of curling up like a kitten, not really, then when you get done, you're going to flip it over and kind of heat it from the back for a minute. I don't like to heat from the back. Some people do. I don't like to because I can't see what's happening. And I love to watch it turn. So we're all good. See the shine? Now I'm going to turn it over and just kind of go over it a little bit so it flattens out. And we are good. So because this is just so incredibly elegant, I could just stay right there. I wouldn't need to do another thing. I could just leave it just like that. Or I can bring in my Stampin' Blends. It cools, nothing smears, everything is really solid. But you can bring in your blends and do some coloring, and it just looks so cool. All right, so let's just grab, this is like Calypso Coral, and I'm also going to grab some Mossy Meadow. I'm going to go with the light. And I'm just going to color, but you'll notice it doesn't really hit the silver. But if you're worried that the color is affecting the silver, you can come back and with a paper towel, just wipe off the silver. Where'd the towel go? Let's use our finger. And just wipe it off. But what's cool about it is it helps you stay in the lines, because the lines are kind of bumpy. So there's no bleeding with this. And it really looks amazing. Right? The ink is not going to change the color of the silver. Sometimes it sits on top of it a little bit, but in this case I don't see that happening. And then we'll come back with our dark one. It looks so elegant and rich. And then we're going to bring in our darker one. And go back to our light in some little circles. And then as this dries, we will be good. I could bring in my green too, but I just wanted you to kind of see how that really changes the look. And then we just add this to the front and we are good to go. All right, so let's try one other idea. Again, we're still going to use the same card set, the same cut, but instead of all of these pieces, we're just going to use this. And I want to show you, actually I want to show you two different things. So we're going to use clear embossing powder. I think it's right here. This is clear, which doesn't look all that different. All right, it looks like the white, but it's clear, which means it's not going to have a color. And I'm going to use a smaller stamp set so that I can show a smaller image from this one. I'm going to use this flower. Okay. Because I'm going to do two different things with it. And I'm going to use my Stamparatus as well because I need to have this be in the exact same spot. So a little more complicated, but we can do it. So we're going to put that there. I don't want to use you first. I'm going to do the green one's going to needs the block. All right, so I'm just going to go right in the middle just because I want you to see it. I'm not sure what I would do with this card. Maybe I would cut it out later. And I'm going to pick it up. So remember I said I have silver and I have gold and clear and white. But what if I wanted Calypso Coral embossing powder? Well, I may not have any of that, but I do have a Calypso Coral stamp pad, right? All right, so I'm going to ink this up with Calypso Coral. And I'm going to stamp it. Okay? All right, now I'm going to close this up so nothing bad happens. And then I'm going to grab my cleaning tool. And I really need a paper towel, which for some reason I don't have. Move you over here. We can do it, even though we don't have a paper towel. We'll make it work. And we're going to push this on here, which I like a paper towel better, but you know, we can do it. I just need to get that clean. Okay. And now, bring you back. Put you back in where you were. See, we're in the same place. Phew. And we're going to bring in our Versamark this time. And we're going to ink that up. And now we're going to Versamark on top of the Calypso Coral. take you out. And you. And we're going to grab our clear. And we're going to go right over this. Shake, shake, shake. A little tap, tap, tap. Notice it's more difficult to see if there's anywhere it doesn't belong. So sometimes it will be a surprise later. But it's clear, so it's not really going to be the end of the world. And put my cover back on, and now turn on my tool. So remember, I used clear on this. But what's going to happen is the clear is going to emboss clear, but you're going to see the Calypso coral behind it. So it comes out really cool. Debbie, that's absolutely true. And the reason that, if you didn't see Debbie's comment, she said you can use your ink colors and not do the Versamark on top of it if they're really juicy and you're super fast. So you can do that, and you might want to give that a try, but you need to make sure that you have, and the reason for that is that your ink's dry quicker than Versamark does, so you don't really have a lot of time. So if you're brand new at this, you might struggle with being fast enough to get it on, but you definitely can. So that's one way. Now let's take this one, and we are going to use just the clear on it so that you can see how this looks. You're thinking, well, that's not going to look like anything. Debbie, that's a great trick too, in case you don't have a Stamparatus that lets you line it up, because you got to line it up in the same place or it's going to look really weird, because you got to get both of them one on top of the other. So this is just clear. Well, it's just Versamark right now, which is kind of a cool look. See it? All right. And then let's bring on our clear. Shake, shake, shake. Tap, tap, tap. And then you get this kind of a look, which, okay. Wait, let's pick up. You might think that I'm kind of obsessive about the pickup part. I've had a couple of accidents in a live situation where the embossing heat tool hit that, and oh, not pretty. So let this warm up a little, and then we're going to go over this. Now remember, this was clear. Can you see it start to turn? And you get a really pretty look, right? All right, one more quick. We are going to, this time, we are going to use white embossing powder. It can be. Especially when I pretend that it didn't happen. Just keep going. Just keep talking. Never mind the mess on the table. Okay, so we heat embossed over, or we Versamarked over here. All right. Now This time we're going to use the white embossing powder. So you can kind of see a difference in how they look. Again, same idea. Definitely more distinct. And then we are going to heat that and see how that looks. This is one of those things that just really needs practice. Not a lot. I mean, like, it's not hard. You just want to get your technique down. Some things to remember are to turn this on, let it warm up before you bring it on. And now, just because this has already been embossed down here, it's not going to matter. I'm trying to make sure you can see it. Can you get it? Yep. And you let it cool. I know, isn't it pretty? And it doesn't have to be just the flowers. It can be your sentiments. Anything can be stamped and heat embossed. All right? So these are your options. This is our silver. Let's finish this card with a quick dimensional or two. And now these colors really are not Calypso Coral. That's really Petal Pink. But because not a lot of it shows, I can use the brighter Calypso Coral on the top and it still looks really pretty. So there's that one. And this is our white and our clear. And this is our double. Our double. double. All right? Well, thanks for coming tonight. This was fun. And if you have any questions or you're not sure what we did or why we did it, remember what you need if you want to start heat embossing. You're going to want some Versamark. You're going to want an embossing powder, and I recommend you start with a color. So either white on a darker cardstock, or if you're going to do it on white, you're going to want the silver or the gold. You're going to want an embossing buddy, and you're going to want a heat tool. And then you're going to pick up, and this can be a little kid's paintbrush. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's just to clean up around the edges if you need to. And just when you think you didn't need to, you're going to wish you had it. All right. Awesome. If you're having any trouble with the website, just let me know. I would say give it till morning and see if it's all done, whatever it's got to do. They tell me it's going to be fine, and I'm waiting. So have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye.